Memories carry a lot of weight to them. They help us grow, learn, and sometimes they even tie us down. Love, on the other hand, is what I feel is central to a lot of my happiest memories. When I recall those good memories, it's like I'm being wrapped in the warmest embrace. But love isn't always that great. It can also be tied to painful memories, like a sharp blade at your neck. Trusting our memories is also a little tricky because they're just bits of people and actions that eventually fade. Still, some things, I think, just stick with us forever. Even as time comes and goes, love, with all its ups and downs, leaves a lasting mark on our lives. Frieren Beyond Journey's End is an anime that explores connections and how time can affect it, as well as exploring the human condition. Our protagonist in this story is an elven mage by the name of Frieren. She was the mage who helped save the world in the hero's party. Himmel, the handsome hero, Eisen, the dwarven warrior, and Hyder, the corrupt priest. The four of them embark on a 10-year-long journey to the end of the continent to defeat the Demon King. That adventure is not what this story is about. After defeating the Demon King, the hero's party disbands, but not before a celebration. They talk about the fun adventure that they shared and reminisce on the good times. That is when Frieren says, "It was only a mere 10 years. Within her mind, the time that they shared was short. This disconnect is one of Frieren's main struggles in understanding humans. Frieren is an elf who has lived for over 1,000 years and has a concept of time that's just drastically different than us humans. I mean, we kinda only rarely live 1/10 the length that she has. It isn't that Frieren can't experience emotion. It's just that living that long and knowing you'll outlive everyone doesn't exactly put you in a position to be eager to connect with other people. I even see Frieren's statement as not her trying to invalidate their time shared, but as somebody who finds the wistful atmosphere that the duration of their journey created is odd. It would be like somebody bringing up what happened last week with a tinge of nostalgia. It's while watching a meteor shower, Frieren tells the party that they should get together to watch it again at a better location 50 years from now. During this reunion 50 years later, you see the party all visibly aged, all except for Frieren. This reunion would be their last journey together. Himmel ends up dying of old age. You'd expect in a story like this, a fantasy series, for a hero to die a glorious death amidst a battle in an act of self-sacrifice. But instead in this story, we see Himmel, having ushered in an era of peace with his comrades, resting, living a peaceful, quiet life. And I love that choice. As his party helps to bury him, the moment causes them to all reminisce, and Frieren is distraught after Himmel's death. She blames herself for not learning more about him before his death, and with tears streaming down her face, she regrets not spending more time with him. As the funeral ends, the party disbands yet again, and Frieren begins a new journey by herself to collect spellbooks and also to understand humans. It's on this journey we see the effect that her hero's journey has had on the world, and we get to meet new and old faces. She remembers her friends and grows steadily through each and every episode. And so Frieren's solitary journey begins. Just kidding. Here's Fern, her apprentice, and Stark, the warrior disciple of Eisen, and even Sign, the current era's most corrupt priest. Did you really think a story of connection wouldn't have a fully decked out party? Frieren is an episodic driven story that does have an overarching purpose. It's to go to heaven, or Oriol. Yes, heaven is believed to be a physical location that Frieren learns about from a book left to her from her teacher, the legendary mage Flumme. It's through this revelation from the book that Frieren sets her sights on heaven to once again talk to Himmel and learn more about him. Both connections, new and old, are shown, and we see as the long-lived elf begins to change. Fern is the adopted daughter of Hyder. She was saved by him after a war ravaged her country, leaving her an orphan. As she was about to end her own life to be with her family, Hyder stopped her. Hyder became family to her. He took care of her. Fern is a child who's lost so much in her life, and Hyder just wishes to be there just a little longer, just to see her grow up, just to know she can take care of herself. A few years later, we see Hyder growing weaker, and he asks for Frieren to take the now trained Fern with her on her journey. She agrees and tells Hyder to say a proper goodbye to Fern. This action by itself shows that Frieren has changed. From the loss of Himmel, she now knows the importance of a proper goodbye. After this, Hyder the priest joins Himmel in the afterlife. Frieren is a reserved kid. She, in a lot of ways, takes care of Frieren and is super responsible. She manages the party's finances and often chastises Frieren for her behavior. I really love Frieren's character. She's blunt but kind. When watching her, I can't help but get the view of a kid who's pretending to be an adult though. In a way, it's cute, and the more I thought about it, it was a little sad. She's unsure of what to be because she's so young, so she's just imitating an adult's behavior to be seen as competent. I think she does this mainly so Hyder didn't have any regrets before he passed, so he would kind of have a safety net, a security in knowing that, oh, she's so responsible already, I can move on. But I don't think that really gives her any joy. Even magic to her was something she took up to ease Hyder in his death so that he'll see that she'll be able to take care of herself. In my opinion though, in this journey, we see her genuinely smile alongside Frieren and grow. The people she loves are gone. She can be polite to the point of it being cold. She's a child who's experienced so much loss that I think the way that she acts is a way of protecting herself. Love to Frieren is lost with time. Maybe she'll think that it's better to not love at all. A fear of being hurt once the one you love has passed could be a very real reason for Frieren's need for distance. This is what I believe to be the kind of love Frieren is meant to represent in the series. Many can argue that Frieren already does that, but I believe that Frieren does that within a human context, a fear of connection due to losing so many people. It's hard after losing someone. Your world starts to feel gray, like things will never be the same, but I promise with time it will be. And soon enough, you'll be able to form new connections and start to see a little color in your life, just like Frieren. Stark is the disciple of Eisen and is a coward, or at least that's what he'd have you believe when you first see him. Stark is a person who can't believe in his own strength, a young man who despite his own training struggles with his fear of it not being enough. If conflict can be avoided, you can believe Stark would avoid it. And this isn't due to a lack of strength, it's entirely psychological. In the face of a dragon shaking, he fears for his life, yet only after a single swing he kills it. So why then? Why be afraid? Growing up, his older brother was stronger and more talented than him. His father only held pride for his eldest, believing him to be a failure. Stark was weak, and because of that, living in a village of warriors where strength was all that mattered, he was useless. So Stark trained. He trained and trained, but it wasn't enough. His family was killed, and all he could do was run. Death took them, and he was too weak and too cowardly to do anything. That is the source of his fear, why he avoids fighting, and why he can never trust his own strength. Eisen is a person that Stark sees as strength incarnate in his eyes. His master is the very definition of the word. So how can a warrior like him, who trembles whenever he fights, ever hope to reach the heights his teacher expects? So he ran again, to a remote village. What Stark didn't know was that his teacher understood his weakness more than he knew. Eisen also ran when his village was slaughtered. He also trembles when he fights, and he sees Stark for what he really is, his dear student who will surpass him. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the ability to act in spite of it, somebody said. Stark could never run if he knew somebody would be harmed because of it. He is truly strong and courageous, but he could never see those traits in himself. Stark has a lot of self-loathing, a lot of the love that he has received in his life by others. He can't see. His brother cares for him, even his master does, but it never gets noticed by him. He doesn't think he deserves any kind of affection, and it's so powerful when he does realize that he's loved, that he always has been. He can only perceive himself in a vacuum of his own perceived failures. Stark is more than that. He's a kind, strong warrior who will never turn his back on those that need his help, and he deserves to be loved. Sign is an interesting character, a middle-aged priest with the regret of never going on an adventure in his youth. Sign grew up with a childhood friend who we only know by the name of Guerrilla Warrior. Don't ask me why. Anyways, Guerrilla asked Sign a few years ago to go on an adventure with him, and he chose not to go. This was because his older brother had passed up going to the capital city of the Holy Church in order to stay and take care of him when he was younger. This formed a debt in his young mind, and he sought to repay it by staying with his brother and helping him with the church. He thought by leaving he'd be abandoning his older brother. Of course, once his brother realizes that's why he didn't go on the adventure, it angers him. The fact that his younger brother would think he'd be happy if he didn't leave, if he let himself be shackled by a debt he never even said he had. A lot of Sign's fear comes from his belief that he's wasted too much time. He missed the opportunity when it was in front of him, so there's nothing left he can do. Sign came to his own conclusion on what he needed to do. In a way, he kind of just used his brother as an excuse. His older brother loves him. He wants what's best for him. He wanted him to be happy, and he wanted him to make a choice and never regret it. When he leaves that village on his adventure now, his brother smiles, seeing that he's doing what he always wanted to do. It's easy to think that too much time has passed and that you can't do anything since you missed the best time to do whatever you you wanted to do, but that is never true. It's best to do something even if it's too late than regret it for the rest of your life. That kind of messaging is what Sign's story is really all about, knowing that it's never too late to do what you want. Selfless. It's the perfect word to describe the love Himmel held for Frieren. The adventure with this party is oftentimes told in parallel to adventures Frieren shared with her old comrades. Through this new journey, we see glimpses into Frieren's past, the kind of person she was, as well as her comrades. It's a really refreshing way to handle flashbacks. We see how our current Frieren has learned to treasure the time she shares with her party members. We see memories recontextualized by Frieren as she's now more aware of human connections, and we celebrate all of her growth each and every episode. No matter how long or short this journey lasts, Frieren looks to treasure every second of it. As we get more flashbacks, we begin to see Himmel's clear affections for Frieren. It is so palpable as we see more and more of them together, yet it has never dawned on Frieren that Himmel's actions were ever romantic. Himmel engraves an important place in Frieren's heart. He was kind and understanding, a hero in every sense of the word with his gentle heart and courage. The reason I believe their relationship never went to the point of romance has to be Frieren's difference in mindset and Himmel's own selflessness. We talked about her concept of time being fundamentally different. Frieren for a long time found it easier staying by herself, away from people. Rather than losing people as time passes, it's easier to pretend that connection itself is meaningless. Himmel managed to still find a place in her heart, along with the rest of the hero's party members, in those 10 years. I think Himmel understood to a point that a romance between them couldn't work. Even if he spent a lifetime to convince her, she'd never see a point to their love. So why do we now see her reminisce of his love? I believe the decades after his death allowed her the time to process their time together. Frieren is now left with the memories of his love, and I'm not sure if she entirely thinks of it as romantic, at least currently in the anime. It's still ambiguous. To Frieren, this journey is a path that will guide her to a place where she'll be able to say the things that she should have said to Himmel when he was still alive, to learn more about him and no longer hold any regrets. Himmel made sure the party had statues all over the world so they never be forgotten, so that Frieren would see that they're not just memories of hers, that they truly live, rather than a purely romantic love that would last his lifetime. Himmel wanted to leave behind unforgettable memories of love and care that would last Frieren's entire lifetime. Frieren Beyond Journey's End is about treasuring the time you do have. Maybe this journey to heaven won't work, and they won't get to meet those that have passed. They will still have spent a wonderful time together, on an amazing adventure. No matter its length, the time spent with people you cherish is always unforgettable, even if it's only a mere 10 years.